April's a tricky time for baseball fans everywhere. Last year, my New York Mets got off to their best start in franchise history at 11-1 and seemed primed for a big summer culminating in a return to the postseason. Much like the Mets do, however, that quickly fell apart. They won 3 games in the month of June and finished the season 77-85. That's the Mets, though. Trying to equate a team's success to that of the Mets is like trying to convince yourself that D.C. is a city of winners. Yeah, sure, they've had some recent success, but history should tell you they'll crawl back into their hole of irrelevance and disappoint fans for the next decade. Regardless, when teams get hot early on, fans want to believe it's a sign of things to come. When there's a perceived contender who starts off slow, we like to think it's only a matter of time before the script is flipped. So, with the MLB season featuring multiple fascinating storylines, it's a reasonable question to ask which starts are for real and which are just a mirage. It's only fair to start off with the reigning World Series champs. The Red Sox are 6-11 and just split a series at Fenway with the Baltimore Orioles. The same Baltimore Orioles that won 47 games just last year. The same Baltimore Orioles that consistently trot out their $161 million man in Chris Davis, who started off his 2019 campaign by not recording a hit in 62 consecutive plate appearances. But hey, this is about the Red Sox, not the putridness of the Orioles. Chris Sale started the season 0-3 and with a 9 ERA. Reigning MVP Mookie Betts has a 2.33 average and has looked at pitches that last year he would have put into the parking lot of most ballparks. The rumored breakout of Rafael Devers has yet to commence for takeoff, and the only thing going for Boston right now is a perceived weak bullpen stepping up to the plate and performing well while the starting staff struggles to find any sort of groove. If I'm a betting man, though, the Red Sox will be back. The talent throughout the lineup is just too good to ignore, but so are their division rivals in the Tampa Bay Rays. So if Boston doesn't fix things quickly, the young, talented Rays could run away with the division. The Seattle Mariners are also a team that have taken people by surprise. Seattle management let everyone know that they were blowing things up and beginning their rebuild this offseason after trading Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz in a package for prospects and Jay Bruce with the New York Mets. Yet the Mariners are off to an incredible 13-5 start and own the second best run differential in all of baseball. And let's be honest for a second. If anyone told you that Jay Bruce would be among the league leaders in home runs to start the year, you might damage an organ laughing so hard in their face. But the M's have kicked it up. They lead all the MLB in runs with 126, home runs with 39, and are 4th in the league in batting average, hitting .277 as a team. The offense has picked up for the slack of the shaky pitching staff, and it's resulting in wins right now for Seattle. Will that last? I personally can't see it. The Mariners are defying baseball logic right now with their ragtag group of guys and superhuman Jay Bruce. But in a division with the Houston Astros and Oakland A's, the Mariners will struggle to hang around without strong, consistent pitching. As for the rest of the league storylines, let's run through it quickly. The Marlins still stink, always have, most likely always will. Christian Yelich and the Brewers have proved there's no NLCS hangover, and they'll continue to be a force to be reckoned with. The Chicago Cubs may very well experience another century of misery if they somehow can't figure out a way to win with a lineup that features Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, and Kyle Schwarber. The Yankees have been plagued by the injury bug, and while it's a valid excuse, it doesn't excuse the lack of interest in free agent Dallas Keuchel to bolster the weak starting rotation in the meantime. If the Yanks can get healthy, they'll be battling for the top of their division by July. The Indians have struggled mightily on offense, but their pitching has remained strong. Pitching wins games, and it'll keep Cleveland in the driver's seat in the weak AL Central. As for that AL Central, after a red-hot 2-0 start, the Kansas City Royals have cooled off to a nice 5-10 record to start their 2019 campaign. They'll have about as much of a fighting chance as Yasiel Puig did fighting the entire Pirates roster. At the end of the day, the MLB season is a marathon. If you sprint too hard in the first few miles, you'll be the one gasping for air and calling it quits before you even hit the halfway point. It'll be interesting to see which teams pace themselves and finish in good shape, but one thing's for sure, definitely won't be the Royals. Speaking of Kansas City, we sent our Missouri native Michael Logerwell out to Fenway Park to get a feel from some fans on their Red Sox slow start to the season. Let's see what they had to say.
Hi, I'm Michael Logerwell. I'm staying here on the David Ortiz Bridge, and I'm out here interviewing people about the Boston Red Sox, because although they won the World Series last year, they haven't gotten to a top...
Are you even relevant?
Hey, you guys got the same record as us, and you guys are trying to win.
World Series champions. We're coming back from that.
Why would you say the Red Sox have been so terrible this year?
Well, the starting pitch has been very, very spotty.
Yeah. So you guys are now officially just as good as the Orioles. How does that feel?
Just as good as the Orioles?
That's sucky. That's a pretty
Is
bad
that a real question?
Off the record, I think they won last year, and this year they become too cocky.
I just think that the Red Sox are absolutely fabulous because we're here enjoying and celebrating. You guys are wonderful.
Celebrating what? A losing season so far?
Well, we have nowhere to go but up. Yeah, baby.
What do you think about Chris Sale right now? He's kind of been bad this year.
Yeah, but it's okay because his fans still love him, so he's still the best. So that's all that matters is that he has his support, he has his fans, and we love him.
We
traded your best player, Lorenzo Cain, to an irrelevant team.
We didn't trade him. He signed as a free agent.
Exactly. They're still irrelevant.
Well, the Rays are looking pretty good this year.
The Rays?
Tampa Bay?
Yeah, Tampa Bay.
Until halfway through the season when they start losing every single game.
I mean, they won 90 games last year.
You're wearing a Kansas City Royals hat.
We won in 2015.
And a shirt.
Yeah, sure.
2015. Come on.
No.
That was very
When
recent.
did the Red Sox win?
Yeah, no, I can't remember.
Oh, that's right, last year. We have no worries. How the Royals doing?
Just as good as the Red Sox.
They have historically been a terrible team.
All right.
In the MLB history.
All right, that's
So,
just
like,
a lie. We have 2 rings.
Yeah. In like 50 plus years.
Oh, I just feel bad for any Kansas City Royals fan in general.
The Royals. Go Red Sox.
Thank you.
Oh, do you have a good Super Bowl? Nah, that didn't happen. Sorry.
What the heck? Come on.
Our next guest is a very special guest on the box score that I'm interviewing. And my first question for him is, Chris, how's it feel to suck? Wow, no comment? Chris, I thought you were professional. I mean, he's a bum now.
He's a bum now. He gave up 3 hits in a game.
After going
Did you
0
win a World Series?
2015.
Did you?
Yeah, we went back to back.
Are you-
2014, 2015.
You didn't win back to back.
No, we didn't win back.
Yeah.
We made it to back.
It's a long season. It's a long season. We started off very bad. I agree. It's a long season, though.
All right.
It's a long season.
All right.
We'll be back next week. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We'll be up a couple games. Don't worry about it.
All right.
True.
All right, go Royals.
What do you mean go Royals? Go Red Sox.
Well, it's certainly been a very, very interesting day here at Fenway. But despite their slow start, the Red Sox fans are still hopeful and still hate the Royals. This has been Michael Logerwell. Back to you guys in the studio.
Gotta love that Boston hospitality. When we come back, I'll sit down to talk with Jacqueline Galvin and Tyler Engler to discuss the replay system in sports. Hannah Bruin and Johnny Menacchia will give us their top 5 comeback stories and a sports court debate on the NBA MVP you won't want to miss. Don't move. We'll be right back.
And when I arrive at my destination, I am gonna kill Bill.
What? Oh. Okay, cutting. Sorry, can we get some of this?
Where in God's name is the gaffer's tape?
Hi, I'm Nate.
And I'm Casey, and we're the National Broadcasting Society.
Come out to some of our weekly workshops or work on some of our sets.
Explore the bigger picture with NBS.
We'll see you there.
All right, let's get another take. Camera, sound.
So yeah, it's like Emerson's very own late night talk show. We've got games like Jimmy Fallon, and we're hot like Jimmy Kimmel, and we've got guests. I'm gonna talk to them. You can talk too, I guess. There's a live studio audience, and they're just gonna laugh at everything we say, and it's gonna be awesome. It's just this never-ending cycle of positivity and community and late night content. I'm gonna wear a suit. You should probably wear one too. What do you think?
I think you should drink up, because it's closing time.
Welcome back to the box score. I'm now joined by Jacqueline Galvin and Tyler Engler to talk about the usage of the replay system in sports. Guys, we saw the danger of instant replay a few weeks ago in the national championship game. when Texas Tech guard David Moretti got the ball slapped out of his hands by Virginia's DeAndre Hunter, and after review, they decided that the ball did go out on Texas Tech and reversed it. Controversial because I would say in any 5-on-5 game you play pickup or just kind of anywhere, that ball slapped out of the hand and it stays the offense's ball. Just kind of your thoughts on that and also the way that replay is being used in sports right now.
My thoughts on it is replay was instituted for clear and obvious errors. That was not a clear and obvious error. You need to stop overreaching the use of replay because otherwise we can review every single play of every single game and change every single call.
I totally agree with that. I think that replay should only be used if it is a clear and concise overturn of the play, and if it's not being able to be seen by the human eye, then it really shouldn't be overturned in the first place.
Right, so we kind of talk about that in clear and obvious error, and the NFL just kind of switched up their replay review and allowing defensive pass interference, or pass interference in general, to be reviewed. Thoughts on that?
I think that in general, it kind of slows down the pace of the game as well, just because if a coach challenges a play, we saw this with the Julian Edelman catch, the Patriots were just kind of like rolling through that defense, and that kind of slows down and gives the defense a chance to catch their breath almost, and it can change the whole pace of a game even if the call isn't overturned in the first place.
I'm not one of those old staunchy people. It's like, oh, replay's slowing down the game. I think generally replay is a good thing. You want to get the call right, but for clear and obvious errors. If, let's say, the ball went out of bounds clearly off of Moretti or DeAndre Hunter and the false call was made, you need to make the right call. NFC Championship game, that was clearly pass interference. That should be reviewed. But we set a dangerous precedent when we want to review everything, because if you slow something down to microseconds, calls could be changed on every single play.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, especially switching over to baseball. If someone slides into second and their foot comes off the bag for like a millisecond and then they're called out because of that, I really don't think that's fair to the runner because, I mean, it's a millisecond. There's really nothing you can do about that.
Right, and you mentioned baseball. We now have, you watch the game on TV, ESPN, TBS. Most networks now have the imaginary strike zone for the viewers to show you if it's a ball or strike. But the umpire doesn't get the benefit of that doubt. Yeah. Do you guys think that balls and strikes now should be, I wouldn't say reviewed, but taking the human error out of it?
No. We're not reviewing balls and strikes. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, right.
That's
not reviewing balls and strikes.
That's going to take way too long.
Isn't that like the electronic umpire essentially?
Right. You can have someone in a booth telling the umpire behind the plate if it's ball or strike.
That kind of takes the fun out of it, though,
Look,
in a sense.
I'm all for the right call. I want the right call. But don't you also want to see managers flying out of the dugout screaming F-bombs at umpires because they got the wrong call?
Not if my team's getting screwed out of a win. Absolutely not.
The Mets never win. But but the point is
but when we do, you don't want to get screwed out of it. I feel like any sports fan would say that. If your favorite team is in the lead or has a chance to win, and then a ball ends up 2 inches outside of the strike zone and it gets called a strike, you're tossing expletives at the TV, basically.
I mean, sure. I mean, I don't know what the response is. You obviously want to get the call right. That's important. But you're not going to get every single call right. If they review every single play, why didn't we just make it 2K? 2K gets the call right most of the time.
There is a setting on 2K where you can get it wrong. But
yeah, it's the one where Johnny Manacchio plays on. But the point is replay has gotten way out of control. How about in the NCAA and the NBA? You can review out-of-bounds plays only in the last 2 minutes. Are we going to say every possession doesn't matter? Why shouldn't we review plays in the first half? I mean, we're playing under different rules.
I don't disagree with that, but I think if you have the opportunity, Jacqueline, you can chime in on this if you'd like. If you have the opportunity to make the correct call, then why not do it? Because you still have an umpire behind home plate in terms of balls and strikes. You just have the electronic review. That's just the way I look at it.
I don't know. I like the human error aspect of it just because it's like the way that it was always played. Almost, I don't know. I understand both sides, and I'm still very in the middle with my opinion on it. Right. Just because, like, for certain times I'm like, yes, this should be reviewed, and other times I'm like in baseball when, like I said, comes off the the bag for 0.2 seconds.
Last point, real quick.
Very quickly, you always want to make the right call. That's why there's no good solution to this. The referees in the NCAA championship game, they made the right call. Was replay being used too often and not in the right place? Yes, but they got the call right. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, it certainly seems like the human aspect of the game is getting closer and closer to being abolished. Whether or not that's a good thing, we'll see. Guys, thanks for joining me. We're now going to head over to Johnny Menachia and Hannah Brewitt as they give us their top 5 comeback stories in sports history and our segment we call Top 5. Guys?
Thanks, Ryan. Today on Top 5, we're looking at the greatest comebacks in sports history. At number 5, I have the 2013 Boston Red Sox. Coming off a season where they finished last, the Red Sox came back in 2013 to win it all. On top of that, we had Boston Strong, Big Papi with that great speech. It was a great comeback for not only the Boston Red Sox, but also the city as a whole.
I really like that. I put it a little higher, but we'll get to that. My number 5, the 2019 Virginia Cavaliers. What a season these guys had. Losing to a 16 seed last year, Kyle Guy faces some depression issues. And, I mean, it is just crazy that this team comes around and wins the national championship.
At number 4, I have the 2016 Chicago Cubs. The Cubs obviously had a lot coming back of a 100-year drought. They came back to win it all in a Game 7 against the Cleveland Indians. Spectacular win for the city of Chicago.
My number 4, I like that, but I'm going to go a little different here. I'm going to go with the 2004 Boston Red Sox. Down 3-0 to their nemesis Yankees, and they come back and win. Are you kidding me? The first time this has ever happened. So I go 2004 Boston Red Sox.
At number 3, I have the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, bring it home to Cleveland, beat the Golden State Warriors. Warriors blew a 3-1 lead. That was a great meme for a long time, too. There was obviously the Warriors, one of the super teams in the NBA still to this day. They came to dethrone them off a 3-1 lead.
I'm going to go here, number 3, the 2013 Red Sox. You have them at number 5. I think it really speaks. You said the David Ortiz speech. What a moment for Boston sports. I mean, this team faced last AL East year before the Boston Marathon bombings, and this team doesn't let anything faze them. They win the World Series. What a huge win. First time, too, on their home turf.
Absolutely. At number 2, got to give it to Tom Brady and the Patriots. Super Bowl 51.
Okay. All right.
Coming back, 25-point deficit to beat the Falcons in overtime. One of the greatest comebacks I've ever seen, only second to number 1, which we'll get to in a second.
Well, I love that. I'm a Pats fan, but my number 2 is Muhammad Ali. Probably maybe one of the biggest stories in all of sports. Declines going to the war for religious purposes and is out of boxing for 3 years, comes back, 2 of the biggest fights in all of sports, Rumble in the Jungle being one. He wins. He's crowned heavyweight champion again. I mean, this is one of the biggest stories in all of sports history.
And rounding it out at number 1, a man that needs no introduction, Tiger Woods winning the Masters 2019. Tiger had a long past 10 years or so, not only in the media, in his personal life, but also with his back surgery. About a year ago, he went in for back surgery. They thought Tiger would never come back. Tiger was never going to be the same, would be lucky if he could even golf casually, let alone come back and win a Masters. Greatest comeback I've ever seen.
I can't dispute you. I can't dispute. Number 1, I also have Tiger Woods. What we witnessed this past Sunday is something that I will always remember, and I know you will for the rest of our lives. I mean, this was something so special to not only golf, but to just the fans watching. To come back from what he's been through, I mean, this guy couldn't even walk for years, and now he's a major champion again and possibly catching Jack Nicklaus. I mean, maybe. So what a comeback. Back to you, Ryan.
Welcome to Sports Court. With the NBA now in the heat of the playoff season, it's time to focus on the awards for all the losers that can't compete with the Warriors. A debate that always seems to be atop everyone's list is that of the MVP, and this year that's headlined by Houston's James Harden and Milwaukee's Giannis Antetokounmpo. With the historic season the Bucks have had, many consider Giannis to be the favorite for the award. Here to make the case for Giannis is Avi Kargloff, and to make the case for the scoring machine that is James Harden is Tristan Deschaines. Before I open the floor up for debate, we'll start with the prosecution. Tristan?
This year's MVP race is certainly a two-headed race between James Harden and Giannis Antetokounmpo. While the Greek Freak has had a tremendous season, the Beard has simply been better. One, James Harden is having one of the most dominant seasons in NBA history and has further established himself as one of the best scoring guards ever. Not only has he had a good individual season, but he was able to keep his team afloat in the Western Conference, while Chris Paul and Clint Capella missed tons of games with injuries. James Harden deserves back-to-back MVPs.
What's been clear to everyone watching the NBA this regular season, the best team has been the Milwaukee Bucks, and the best player on it, Giannis Antetokounmpo, should easily win the Most Valuable Player of the Year award for the 2018-2019 season. This isn't last year, James Harden. The most dominant force in the paint since Shaq, Giannis has shown both offensively and defensively he's the runaway candidate for this honor.
I'll now open the floor up for debate.
All right, so Avi, I want to start with a couple of things here. James Harden, you want to talk about carrying a team on your back? James Harden has done that this year. Chris Paul misses 24 games. Clint Capella misses 15 games. In the Western Conference, toughest conference in basketball, we know that. And Harden carries his team with Austin Rivers on the team, like getting tons of minutes. This guy's terrible. He's not going to score points for you. James Harden, he averages 36.1 points per game he finished the season at. That is incredible. That alone could win him the MVP. Not even taking into account the fact that he averages 6.6 rebounds and 7.5 assists while carrying this Rockets team to the playoffs.
So you want to talk about carrying a team. Let me talk to you about carrying a franchise. The Milwaukee Bucks have not won a playoff series since 2001. A playoff series since 2001. Ray Allen was on the Milwaukee Bucks the last time they won a playoff series. The Milwaukee Bucks are only in the championship conversation, in the playoff conversation because of Giannis Antetokounmpo. In this season, one of the most dominant seasons we've ever seen in the paint, he has had 116 unassisted dunks, the most by far ever. Any NBA player wants to just come up to the court and just dunk it. Giannis actually does it. In addition to that, defensively, Tristan, everyone talks about James Harden and his lack of defense. Over 2 more defensive win shares per game for Giannis. In addition to that, he is statistically the best rim defender in the league. So also not only offensively but defensively in the paint, it's just Giannis. And that's really all you need to know.
I love Giannis is a really good paint player. I would hope so. That's good. He's a great paint player. James Harden is unguardable. You can't guard him outside at the perimeter. You can't guard him in the paint because he draws fouls. Giannis is guardable. You sag off of him, you force him to take jump shots, you can beat him. James Harden, we're talking about individual performances here. James Harden this season has been one of the most unstoppable players. He's having one of the best seasons ever. This season, 32 straight games. He scored 30-plus points. The second longest streak behind Will Chamberlain, who had 65 straight.
I'll let you go. I want to say one thing. Did you see at the end of that, though, like end of games, like he would purposely try to hit those shots to get to the 30. Like,
what's wrong with scoring the basketball?
Yeah, but that doesn't show dominance. Like dominance is when
36 points per game is not dominance.
Dominance is when you are dominating the point which is easiest to score in a way that no one else has done before. In addition to that,
what does that
defensively, the Milwaukee Bucks are the best defensive team in basketball.
So we're talking about players, dude. We're talking about the MVP candidate.
Right, but who's the best defensive player on the best defensive team? If you look at the history, if you look at the history of the award, has usually look at James Harden last year. James Harden was not the most valuable player. He was the best player on the best team last year. Russell, it's all about narratives. If it was really the most valuable player in the league, in his prime, LeBron James would have won more than 4 MVPs. Kevin Durant would have won more MVPs. They are way more valuable to their team. Stephen Curry, more valuable.
No,
if you
that's
talk
not
about
true.
The
How is he more valuable to his
of the
team?
award and how it has been in the past, Derrick Rose won the award. Like, come on, no one thinks he actually should have won.
Can I go? Am I good to go? All right, okay. So you're talking about the most dominant player on the team. James Harden is putting up numbers the league has not seen since Michael Jordan.
So
James
then,
Harden
so then why
is
is Russ not in the discussion
James Harden
This
is
is
the
his third year
only
in a row
player
getting triple-double.
besides Michael Jordan
But we're not
to
talking about
score 2,700 points, have 500 rebounds, and have 500 assists in the same season.
That's
The
great.
only
Where's
other player
that
besides
gotten him?
Michael Jordan. We're talking about MVP
If you take
candidate.
Giannis away from the Bucks, they don't make the playoffs.
All right, time to wrap things up with closing statements. We'll again start with Tristan.
James Harden's 36 points per game is outstanding enough on its own to be deserving of an MVP award. Harden has done more than just score. He has been the driving force, the engine behind keeping the Houston Rockets relevant in the West, despite all the injuries the team has sustained. Harden is as close to as unguardable as it gets, and with his monster numbers in 32 straight games of 30 points per game, this is one of the best seasons we have seen in a long time. James Harden's ability to completely dominate the game night in and night out from any spot on the court gives the Beard the MVP.
There's a very real chance that nobody on earth right now can play basketball as well as Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's had a season that puts the Milwaukee Bucks, right in the middle of the championship conversation. He is the man whose play has elevated everyone around him and should be, without a doubt, the most valuable player in the league.
When we come back, we'll see if the jury finds in favor of the Greek Freak or the Beard for this season's most valuable player. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Why did they leave me? Fast forward rewind was all I had. What is this? It's a call for help. So, will you?
Yes! Yes! 1,000 times yes!
Catch Fast Forward Rewind right here on the Emerson channel.
Your one-stop shop for all things orientation.
Come see our shows live at 7 o'clock all of next week.
Can't wait to see you there.
See ya!
Welcome back to the box score. I believe our jury has made a decision. Juror number one, how do you find?
We, the jury, rule in favor of Avi that Giannis Antetokounmpo should be the MVP this season.
All right, Avi, 2-0. Congrats on being crowned the champion of Sports Court in our season finale. Now to close out our season and his box score career, we're going to send it over to retiring Olin Hayes for his hot take on Bryce Harper's fresh new deal. Olin, take it away.
It took a long time for the biggest names in MLB free agency to find their new homes this offseason, but when the deals came in, the stars of the sport got historically large contracts. Let's start with the raw numbers. Bryce Harper signed a 13-year, $330 million deal with the Phillies. Manny Machado got 10 years and $300 million from San Diego. And Mike Trout stayed in Anaheim with the biggest contract in the history of American sports, 12 years and $426.5 million. These may sound like absurd amounts of money, which is objectively true. However, if we look at these contracts as an approximation of the value of players, I believe that Mike Trout's record-breaking contract is simply market value. Meanwhile, Harper's contract in Philly may turn out to be one of the biggest financial mistakes in baseball history. Since Harper and Trout came into the league, they've always been compared to one another as the stars of this generation of baseball. They've both had great careers so far at times, but there's no question that Trout has been superior to this point. In 7 complete seasons, Harper has won an MVP award, a Silver Slugger, and had one season with more than 6 wins above replacement, or WAR. In the same amount of seasons, Trout has won 2 MVPs and finished second in the voting 4 other times. He's won 6 Silver Sluggers in 7 years, and he's put up a WAR over 7 every single season. The average Hall of Fame outfielder has a WAR of around 60 or 70 through their entire career. Harper's is currently 27.8, a good number for sure, but certainly nothing that warrants what was the largest contract in the sport's history until Trout surpassed him the next week. Trout's career WAR 66. Mike Trout has already statistically had a Hall of Fame level career, and he's only 26 years old. Perhaps even more importantly, Trout has had a WAR over 10 twice in the last 3 years alone. Harper's career high is 10.0 in 2015, his MVP season, and in the last 3 seasons, he's had a WAR of 1.5 or less twice. The most concerning thing about this contract to me is that Harper's stats look a lot like those of Chris Davis at the time that he signed his big 7-year deal with the Orioles after the 2015 season. One big season with great power numbers, followed by some years of average hitting with solid power and lackluster defense. Do I think Harper's next few seasons will go as badly as Chris Davis's 2018? No, not exactly. But Harper's contract is for 5 more years than Davis's and more than double the amount of money. Bryce Harper needs to play at the level he did in 2015 for 7 or 8 years of this massive deal to make this contract worth the money at all. Essentially, he needs to be Mike Trout for the next decade, a task that'll probably be a lot easier for Mike Trout himself.
Olin, I could not think of a better way for you to close the book on your box score career than trashing Bryce Harper. Brilliant, brilliant A-plus stuff. All right, unfortunately, that's all the time we've got here on the season finale of the Box Score. Remember to keep up with our Facebook and Instagram page for all of our episodes and updates on Season 8 of the Box Score when we return next fall. Will the Red Sox regain their championship form? Will the Browns not stink? Will Michael finally get beat up by a Bostonian? All questions that need to be answered. But for now, this has been the Box Score. Thanks for watching.